guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a video that feels so on brand and like something I haven't talked about in a while, and you know by the title, that is angsty romances. I have not found amazing angsty romances until really recently, and it is making me so happy my reading lately. A lot of these books I have read recently where they were just so angsty and I was so obsessed, and I'm just like, I need more books like this. So I just feel like I'm in my element right now, and I'm so excited to talk about these videos because I love books that will just tear you apart, or they will make you frustrated, or they'll make you just like want the characters to get together so badly, but they just can't for specific reasons, whether that's other people or it's like right person, wrong time. So I'm very excited to share these with you. Before we get started though, I would like to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Rebecca Jenchak, and this book I think is perfect for this video. We have Tutoring the Player. She recently redid her covers and I love these so much. This is the kind of style of illustrated that I think is so cute, and she's redoing her entire series. I'm obsessed, and I recently listened to this audiobook. Highly recommend the audiobook. So good. This is part of like the Wallflower series. So they're all wallflowers. They're all kind of shy, and they don't really go to a lot of parties or go out a lot, and so she's a little bit quieter, and she actually has a crush on this guy in her class, and she ends up having a lab partner that she thinks dropped the class, so she's alone, and the professor was like, hey, why don't you go join these two hockey players? And one of them is a guy she has a crush on, so she's super nervous, but she is a little bit excited. And then we switch POVs to not the guy she's crushing on, but the other guy that is the other lab partner, and I'm like, what? And so the hero is actually the other hockey player, and he thinks that his best friend really likes her, and he thinks that she really likes him, and so he kind of encourages them to date each other, but then he's like kind of falling for her, and then he ends up pretending to need help with their class so that she tutors him, so he wants to get closer to her. And so they end up getting closer, and it's really, really cute. Like, they are definitely people who weren't supposed to really be together. They're very opposite from each other, and he's this hotshot hockey player. She's never even been to a game, and it's adorable, and I really liked it. And it has that angst in here where she kind of likes the friend, and he's like, well, my friend likes her, and he like encouraged her to ask him out, and he thought she was going to. Like, she had showed up at the house to ask the roommate a question, like his friend a question, and he thought she was going to ask him out, and he's like, why am I feeling a certain way about this? And it's really cute. I love Rebecca Jenchak's romances. The fourth book in the series for sure is my favorite, so if you are interested in trying the series, definitely pick it up. And thank you so much to Rebecca Jenchak for sponsoring this video. I have quite a few that I read recently to share as well. So the first one I finished yesterday, and that is Unsteady by Peyton Corinne. This book, absolute 5 out of 5 stars. I was obsessed. This is also a hockey romance. I feel like sports romance. I have another hockey romance in here. They lend very well to angst. And so this one, the hero, he was in a really bad hockey accident in the beginning where he was knocked out and he opened his eyes and could not see. And so he keeps on having these nightmares, waking up on his stomach where he was like passed out on, and he just starts having a panic attack, and he can't really get on the ice anymore. So he is trying, he goes there early and ends up having just this panic attack on the middle of the ice alone, and the heroine shows up because she has ice time in the mornings that she works at the concession stands to like trade off for, so she can train because she's a figure skater, and she sees him and she ends up like helping him, and then they end up talking a lot, and then they end up falling for each other. But the heroine is taking care of her younger brothers. One is 12 and one is 6. Her dad is an alcoholic and he is just not reliable whatsoever, and so she really relies on herself to take care of them, and her mom had abandoned them, and then her younger brother's mom had abandoned him, and so she's just used to people leaving, and so she is adamant that the hero is never going to want to stick around. He's going to leave, and it is so sweet because he falls so hard for her, and she is the one that's just like, this is going to be casual, I'm not going to let it like go anywhere, and he knows he has to earn her trust before she'll let him get all the way in with her, and it is adorable. Oh my gosh, I was crying by the end because of the brothers. It is so good, and it's definitely super angsty because the heroine is just like, you're not going to stick around, and I'm not going to let you get close because everybody leaves. And so very angsty, but very good. Another one I read this weekend that I'm just like, I'm so mad I did not read it sooner. The Devil in the Deep Blue Sea by Elizabeth O'Rourke. I have another Elizabeth O'Rourke on here. I could have all of her books on this video because she is the queen of angst. And this one is an ex's brother romance, and this is for sure right person, wrong time. The heroine is a bit of a mess because she likes to let society think what they think of her. She is a famous singer, and she had just like a thing on stage where she fell off stage, and so everybody speculates that she's drunk, she needs to go to rehab, she's like addicted to drugs, and she's really suffering from panic attacks that are based off of PTSD from her past. And she jokes around a lot in order to like cope with her trauma and not wanting to like tell people about it. And so she is invited by her ex on his family vacation because his mom's dying of cancer. And so she agrees, but the ex is also a musician, and he gets stuck in a foreign country because he had marijuana in his suitcase, and they arrested him. And so she is stuck alone with the family and the brother, who is a doctor in Somalia. So he is kind of like Doctors Without Borders. He volunteers at this hospital there, and it's a war-torn country. It's very dangerous, and she hates him. Like, they really butt heads, and then they start spending a lot of time together though, and realizing that they really had misconceptions of each other, and they start falling in love. And then he is actually also there with his ex that his mom invited, thinking that we're still together, and so he's like, I'm sleeping on the couch, like, I don't want my ex to be here. And then her ex finally shows up, so that gets messy, and it is so good. It is so good. Like, they're so desperately in love with one another, but they're just like, we can't make it work. And she is in a really bad spot with her career because she is just pushed to the max, and it's very unhealthy for her, but she doesn't know how to say no. So good. I was so obsessed. I literally finished this in one day. I could not stop reading. I stayed up way too late reading it because I was like, I have to figure out how they're gonna be together, and it was so good. I have not felt the angst like this in a long time. Amazing. Then we have The Puck Secret by G.N. Wright. This is another hockey romance, but this one again is very angsty because the hero and heroine hate each other, and that's because her dad is a famous politician. He's like the mayor or the governor or something, and she is actually betrothed to someone. Her dad's like, you're gonna marry this guy, and he's awful. Like, he's awful. Tries to assault her, and she's like, I'm not gonna marry this guy, but her dad keeps on pushing her and says you can't be in college unless you marry him. And so she feels really stuck, and she texts something very vulnerable to what she thinks is her friend's phone number, and it's the wrong number, and it is his number. And he starts texting her, and they don't know who each other is, like no names, and they start getting very vulnerable and really falling for each other through text. In real life, they hate each other because his mom had an affair with her dad. His mom worked for him, and everybody found out, so he fired his mom and went on his merry way, still has everything great. And so it's just like, she feels bad, but the hero hates her family because he feels like they ruined her mom's life. So he's very angry, and he has to play hockey with her brother on the college hockey team. And then they angrily, drunkenly hook up together and hate each other, but now they're hooking up and hating each other. And the way he is so desperately in love with her, like desperate love that cannot be returned, is one of my favorites in angsty romances because they just can't be together. She's got to go marry this guy, and they're supposed to hate each other, and it's so good. It is so good. I was obsessed. Please read this one. Another Elizabeth O'Rourke one is The Summer We Fell. This one is I don't know if it's on the back. I don't know if it's a spoiler, but okay. It does not say it on the back, so I'm not going to spoil it, but he is her boyfriend's best friend. And we get flashbacks from the past and the present. In the past, when she is obviously falling for him, but can't be with him. In the present, where she's a famous singer and he's a famous surfer. And they are addressing things. So in the past, she is actually... I forget what happened to her family, but something happens where she has to move in with her boyfriend and his family, and he has a very, very religious family, but he's so good to her, and so she feels like she can never betray him. She's like, my life is good where it is, and she feels like she just like has to stay, even though it's not what she wants. What she wants is the best friend, and she wants something so much bigger than the current life she has, but she feels like because they've given her safety and space and a home, she has to stay with her boyfriend and can't leave. So situations like that are so angsty because they just like literally cannot be with the people they want to be with because they feel like they owe things to other people, and that's really what happened in this one, and it was so good. so angsty, and then you're like slowly unraveling what happened in the past and like how they got to where they are in the future, and I was obsessed. I couldn't put this one down either. Elizabeth O'Rourke, like I said, writes angst so well. Then I have Requiem by Kelly Hart. This one has like a very desperate love that I was just like, oh my god, I'm so obsessed. So this one is very interesting, and I cannot tell you all too much about it because it's best going in not knowing too much like I did, but the heroine has been plotting the death of the hero, and it's because he's responsible for her best friend's death. She does not remember a lot about that night. She just remembers him and her best friend in the car together, and that's the car crash her best friend died in. So he goes to this very prestigious prep school. She has been training to kill him, and she is like, I'm going to go undercover into the school and take him out. And it's their romance. And this is another absolutely desperate romance where he is so impossibly in love with her, but there are things standing in their way from being with each other. And that's all I want to say about this one, but I was so obsessed with it. I could not put it down, and I'm so happy for everybody who told me to read it. This was one of my picks for my Patreon read of the month, and I'm glad I finally read it because I loved it. And I put it off for over a year, but so good. Then we have God of Fury by Rena Kent, and I am not a Rena Kent fan, typically. I've tried a few of her books, and she just writes a genre that's not for me. Like, her writing is fine, but the genre is typically like bully and new adult, and I'm just like, I am just like not super into it. So we picked this up because I've seen so many people talking about it. I listened to the audiobook. We picked it for our Ravished by Romance book club, and the beginning I was a little hesitant because I was like, okay, it's MM. The one is British and very posh, and he's very organized and like regimented, and the other one is not. He is like the son of part of the mafia, and he is a little bit unhinged, and he likes to play with the other hero. And then he's like, you know what, you actually like me, and I'm not gonna let you deny it. So he like really goes after him. So there's a lot of back and forth in this story, but what really got me was the end. The second half of this book is so good and very emotional. It definitely deals with a lot of emotional topics. We have a lot to do with self-harm and suicide and mental health, anxiety, OCD, all those things. And so in this one, they are really both dealing with a lot emotionally and finally opening up to each other about it, and it is very emotional, but it's so angsty because they really desperately love each other. And there's one point where the one hero is like, I know what you're going through, and I'm gonna be enough for the both of us. And it's just like, oh my god, it hit me so hard, and it was just so good. It was so good, and just all the emotions in this though, and they didn't know if they wanted to be together because the one hero was still even trying to figure out like his own identity and what he would do if he did come out, and it was good. It was amazing. I really liked it. You should check it out. And then I also have After the Storm by Laura Pavlov, which is so angsty and so surprising because Laura's not typically like a super angsty writer. She just likes really good small town romances, but this is a second chance that I was obsessed with. This one, the hero and heroine had fallen madly in love in high school, and it just did not work. And so they went their separate ways. She immediately jumped into a relationship and got married. He immediately jumped into a relationship, had a baby, and the mom's not in the picture. And so he's a single dad now. She is back in town after being a super successful lawyer in the city. He is now a small town vet, and she has to be back home to help out her parents' farm because her father had like a heart attack or a procedure or something. So they're reconnected, spending time together. She's falling head over heels for him again and his daughter, and there are secret tattoos in here, and I am so obsessed with the secret tattoo trope where they get a tattoo for someone and don't tell them, and then they figure it out, and then they're like, wait a second, what does this mean? It was so good. It was so good. I already want to reread this one. I'm obsessed. Laura wrote angst so well. One of my favorite books of last year. And my last one's actually a historical romance, and that is The Notorious Lord Knightley by Lorraine Heath. I feel like Second Chance always has a little bit of angst to it because you're like, well, what went wrong and where can it go right now? This one, they were supposed to get married, and they actually had fallen really hard for each other, and she is the daughter of an actress and a titled person. I forget what his title was, but she was illegitimate, so her dad had an affair with her mom, and so she's always kind of been like on the cusp of society, and he is a lord. I forget what his title is, but they end up being betrothed, and then he literally leaves her at the altar. So she has been very angry at him, and she goes abroad, and she just lives a wild life according to the tabloids, right? Something happens. I almost just said a spoiler, but there's a spoiler in here that like gutted me, and he is reunited with her because she has published a secret book. She has anonymously published a book about a woman having a scandalous affair with someone, and everybody knows it's him. No one knows it's her who wrote it. He knows it's her who wrote it though, because like he did all that stuff with her in the past. So he confronts her and it's their second chance at romance. And then you figure out why he left her at the altar, and it's just so angsty and so good. And you're like, I just want you guys to be together. I loved it so much. If you want an angsty historical romance, read this one. And those are all my angsty romance recommendations. Let me know if you have any angsty romances that you loved. I would love to hear, and give me all the recs, especially if it's like a desperate love, right person, wrong time situation. Let me know. And again, thank you so much to Rebecca Genchak for sponsoring this video. Make sure you check out Tutoring the Player today with the cute new covers. The entire series is getting recovered too, so I cannot wait to continue the series, but this one, such a good read. Make sure you pick it up. And that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.